Hi everyone, Janey here. Welcome back to my garden. I was so proud of Jason and I this morning. We got up bright and early and got out into the garden before it got too hot. Jason started watering some plants that we haven't gotten hooked up to drip yet, and I went to the orchard and just started cleaning up. You guys, it is looking so beautiful here. Everything is really starting to bloom, really starting to come into its own. I just kind of cleaned everything up, cleaned back some old daffodil foliage, some old allium foliage, and it just, I can see it. I can see where it's going. Then I had the bright idea. We had some hanging baskets left over from the pop-up event, and I thought they would look quite beautiful hanging on this pergola here in the front garden, right by the zigzag planter that's really looking fantastic as well. So Jason hung up some eye hooks for me, and it just feels like I'm cheating. It took 2 seconds to hang these beautiful hanging baskets up, and it brought so much color and so much impact. It made such a huge difference. Now, I had planned on taking down this pergola, but now that I see it with hanging baskets, I'm thinking twice.
So it has been a beautiful morning so far. It is only 8 a.m. and Jason and I, he's already watered everything that we needed to water. I've cleaned up a whole bunch of stuff in the orchard. We hung those beautiful, beautiful hanging baskets. So gorgeous. And we've gotten so much stuff done, and we're not even sweating yet, which is amazing. I love working in the garden in the morning. It's my favorite time to work out here. But the only problem is it's really hard for me to wake up early because I don't go to bed on time. So I'm going to work on it, especially as it gets hotter. Let me show you what the girls are up to. So Sadie and Shay have decided that they want to help out with the family business now that Daddy's working and Mommy's working, right? And you guys are going to be weeding and doing other little jobs for me, right? Which is extremely, extremely helpful. So we went through and I showed them all the weeds in the backyard, and they're going to go through and pick the weeds, and then, you know, maybe they'll do some like sweeping and that kind of stuff. So I have 2 new employees. I'm very excited about it. We're going to get so much stuff done. So while the girls are weeding, the main thing that I want to get done today is working on the front of my office. So I planted this whole area up for spring, and it looked really, really beautiful. But now at this point, all of the spring, the cool season annuals are definitely suffering. I have some daffodil foliage I need to get rid of. I have some lobelia that has just succumbed to the heat. Same with some alyssum. That was just kind of regular alyssum that you get at the garden center, and that is not like Snow Princess. This one cannot handle the heat. I'm sorry about my voice, you guys. It's still not 100% back. So what I want to do is I want to add some color to this area. And so I'm cheating a little bit. You'll probably recognize these. So this is the another hanging basket, just like I hung in the front porch area. This is another gorgeous hanging basket that I picked up at the pop-up. And then I have a couple other Supertunias and a couple other ones, new Supertunias that aren't released yet. And I want to plant all the Supertunias up over here so I can just get huge, huge pops of color. Now, I'm not going to hang the hanging baskets. I'm actually going to just take them out, and I'm going to, I might even just go grab a new pot and just pop the whole hanging basket in the pot. Just going to be really, really easy. They're already grown. It's going to be a huge statement. It's just going to look beautiful. I also threw in a Supertunia bubblegum right here because these are my Vigo beds, the veggie beds, and it's just begging for some color. So I had a little bit of space right there. So I threw in a Supertunia bubblegum so it'll spill over. It's going to look beautiful once it grows in. So I'll kind of just mess around with these, with this area. It's one of the reasons why I like having it like this, kind of just a whole mix of pots, is that I can just kind of add stuff in, take stuff out. But one thing I definitely want to do today, and I'm not going to be done until I do it, is I want to hook all these pots up to drip for sure. Absolutely for sure. Because none of these are hooked up to drip right now. And Jason and I have been hand watering them, and that's just not going to work as it gets hotter and hotter. So that is priority number 1, is get all of these hooked up to drip, get some beautiful color planted, and then enjoy it.
nice with less weeds. I get a ton done in like 15 minutes. Got me a long way.
Great. We're getting somewhere, you guys.
So we're getting somewhere?
Yeah, I feel good.
So while the girls were weeding and Jason was working on some irrigation, I started cleaning out the pots that I had planted earlier this spring in front of my office. It was mainly daffodil foliage that I took out, and I have to be honest, I wasn't worried about saving these daffodil bulbs. I honestly didn't like them that much. They didn't bloom very well for me, and when they did bloom, they kind of flopped over. I just wasn't really... I wasn't really trying to save them. I did leave some of the bulbs in the pots, and so some of them might come back next year, but I'm just not too worried about it. I think next year for daffodils, I just want to use the classic. So this took me a little bit longer because the girls kept coming over and asking me, is this a weed? Is this a weed or a flower? Is this a weed? And at this point, I had to show this. I know the image isn't that good, but Shay asked me if this was a weed, and it ended up being a sweet pea. But then I started asking her, well, do you know what this is? And she said, yeah, lupin. And I said, do you know what this is? And she said, yeah, poppy. And she just knew so many flowers, and it just made me such a proud mama. And I'm just so happy that I am exposing them to gardening at such a young age, because I just think it is so important. And I'm not trying to force them into working at all. I'm not trying to say that they have to do it, but I love it when they want to do it. And today they wanted to do it. So I went and I grabbed this trellis because I have this Crown Princess Margareta rose. It's a climbing rose from David Austin, and I had planted it over here in the corner of the office, planning to have it grow up the side of the office and up onto the eaves. Don't you think that would look so beautiful? So I needed something for it to climb up. I was thinking about using wire, but then I had this, and if you can't tell, I was feeling kind of lazy today. After the hanging baskets in the front yard, that was so easy. And then I just started using the hanging baskets in the pots. You'll see that in a second. And here I thought, I don't want to hang wire. I just want to put the trellis. And I'm honestly really happy with it. So I just used twine to tie the rose to this trellis, and I'll just keep training it up until I get it up to the eave, up to the roof of the office, and I think that'll look beautiful. And I also want to grow some creeping fig on the office as well. I think that will look gorgeous. By this time of day, it was getting pretty warm, and the girls had given up on their weeding chores and gone inside. But when I brought this hanging basket out, they both poked their heads out and said, "Mommy, that's so beautiful." And I agree with them. Man, this was instant impact, instant color, instant flowers. It felt like I was cheating, but it was so worth it. And I think I'm going to be doing this again if I can get my hands on beautiful hanging baskets like this. So I had this black pot over in my pot collection on the side of the metal workshop, and it just happened to fit this hanging basket perfectly. Look at how good that looks. So these hanging baskets had wire hangers on them, so I did have to use wire cutters to cut off the wire. So I just bent those down just so that I wouldn't cut myself when I was spraying BT or something like that. While I was actually potting up the cans that I had to actually pot up in plants, Jason attached the 1/2-inch emitter tubing to the main line that we have. And so what he did is he attached the 1/2-inch tubing to the 1-inch tubing that's off to the right, and then he actually brought it around the office and connected it to the emitter, the irrigation that's over at the Vigo garden beds over off to the left. So pretty much in the backyard, the emitters, the drip tubing is one big circle, which I think is going to be perfect for the water pressure. So I planted everything up. I used the slow released plant food from Proven Winners, which is going to be heat activated, and basically every time I water the plants, it's going to release a little bit of that food for these plants, which they need, because you can see how many blooms these Supertunias have, and more blooms means they need more food. Later on this day, I didn't end up filming it because it was just way too hot, but I ended up connecting 1/4 inch tubing, spaghetti tubing from the 1/2 inch tubing that Jason just installed to each one of these pots. And that honestly took the longest time out of my whole day, but I am so glad to have that because now these pots are going to get regular water. They have that slow release fertilizer in there so that the plants are going to get plenty of food. And then once a week, we are going to come and we're going to use the water soluble fertilizer from Proven Winners to give them even more, to give them kind of like a jump start every week. And I really do notice when I use the water soluble fertilizer, my plants just perk up and they look absolutely beautiful. As I was planting these pots up, I kept kind of laughing to myself thinking, Janey, you are going way overboard with this planting. You are a little extra today. But you know what? I wanted to be extra today. I wanted this whole area to look like a garden center had just thrown up color all over in front of my office. And I think I accomplished that. I think it looks incredible. I think it looks beautiful. And I think it's a celebration of Supertunias.
Okay, I am all done and it looks beautiful. I had to wait a little bit until the sun got, it's later in the afternoon. I wanted the sun to be on the other side of the office so that you could see all of this in the shade, which I think comes across a lot better on camera. Like when it's really, really hot sun, especially when the sun is right overhead, the shadows are just, it just doesn't show off the flowers as well as it should. So I moved a bunch of things around. The most important thing is I got all of this stuff hooked up to drip, which is fantastic. And it is such a relief. Jason worked so much on drip irrigation in the orchard today, and he has almost the whole orchard hooked up to drip, which is so exciting. It's just, it just makes our lives easier, you know? And again, we should have started from the very beginning, but you know, it just kind of got out of hand, and it got out of hand very quickly. So I did move some of the pots. I moved some of them over here, which is not hooked up to drip, but I will work on that. I don't even know if I'm going to leave these here. I don't think this is the best place for them, but I didn't know where else to put them. So let me kind of go around and show you. I definitely cheated with the hanging baskets, but they look beautiful. They look so good. And it was so easy. I didn't even unpot them out of the hanging baskets. I literally just dropped the hanging basket pot into this pot, hooked it up to drip, and then I'm done. I'm just not going to worry about it. And I think it looks amazing. So over here is my bay tree that I got from Robbie. It's looking all right. I think it probably didn't get watered a couple times. So it's, you know, it could use a little TLC, but I have the black mondo grass underneath it. And this is one of the hanging baskets from Fessler's from the pop-up event. I have Supertunia limoncello in it. And then I have Superbina. I'm not totally sure what this one is, but I think it is plum wine. It looks like the plum wine one to me. And that one is just a combo of those two. And I just think it is really pretty. This is my mint that I have. This is Supertunia Royal Magenta. And then this is another combination that also has the Supertunia Royal Magenta in it. But then it goes with the Supertunia Lovey Dovey and the Superbina Whiteout, which is gorgeous. I did leave this one, this Mystic Spires Blue Salvia here. I just think it looks so pretty, and there's always so many bees around it, so I'm going to leave it there. I have a couple other pots of Supertunias that I'll tell you all about later. This one is Supertunia Vista Jazzberry and Supertunia Vista Bubblegum. So this is going to get absolutely huge, massive. Like, I didn't even really care about what the pot was, what pot I chose, because I knew it was going to cover it in just no time. It is a really pretty pot and I really like it, but I'm not going to worry about it. Then this is another one of those hanging baskets, and this has the Supertunia Bordeaux, more of the plum wine Superbina, and then the Supertunia limoncello. And then I did, you see, here's that sun. I did get this little trellis that I had at my last property. I put it on the side for this Queen Princess Margareta climbing rose to climb up. She's going to get about 12 inches tall. So I'm 12 inches, 12 feet tall. So I just needed something for her to climb up. I was planning to do just some like wire or something, but I think for now I'm just going to leave that. I think that looks kind of nice right there. So all in all, I am very happy with how this turned out. I'm so happy that I got some color here, and I'm so happy with how incredibly easy it was just to get those hanging baskets. So a huge thank you to Fessler Nursery for growing these, because dang, you guys made my job super, super easy. So anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this, and I hope you all have a chance to get in your garden today.